Well, a major outage at Amazon's cloud computing service has now been resolved. That outage all day long, taking down really just a broad range of services.
It left us cut off from things like social media, gaming, food delivery apps, video streaming, and even banking platforms. Amazon saying that the issue was related to its domain name system, which turns web addresses, the URL, into IP addresses. Now, those are the numbers that identify locations on the internet, and they're needed for websites and apps to load on our computers and phones. Joining us to better understand this massive worldwide outage is Elizabeth Kwok. She's a cybersecurity expert who's worked at the Federal Trade Commission and Department of Commerce. Thank you so much for joining us, Liz.
Hi, good evening.
So, Liz, you have this deep understanding of how this type of disruption can really impact thousands of businesses and all of us at home. How concerning is this?
You know, I think it's really just the nature of the global interface that we all live in today. Everybody is interconnected. We all share a lot of the same resources, such as this domain name server service. And so it's really not particularly surprising that an outage, especially one as large as today's, would affect as many businesses as it has.
Okay, so if it's not as surprising, the fact that it just took one company having this failure that can grind so many things to halt, can this be seen as maybe a weak point or concern for nefarious or foreign actors to target in the future? Do we have a bullseye on our back here?
You know, I think just because of how interconnected everything is, this is, again, another point in time for leaders at companies, especially those in the IT departments and in the executive suites, to really think about the investments that they can make on the front end and really make sure that they're looking at all of their contingency plans, building in redundancies into their own infrastructure, and then, of course, working to plan ahead for as many eventualities as they can. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's like having a target on our back, because I think that we just live in an age where we all depend on a lot of the same companies to do a lot of widespread services.
Right, but if you can't use Venmo, or if you're unable to get on your bank platform like Venmo, it could be completely alarming. And it sounds expensive to have these types of redundancies. So what can maybe some small businesses or even you and I could do to be proactive or preventative?
You know, I think it is, it can be expensive and a little bit troublesome to kind of not put all of our eggs in one basket. But I think certainly for small businesses, you want to look at what you will do. Let's say if you do suffer an outage, maybe you can't have more than one provider for any given service, but you can build in place a plan for what if you do have a little bit of downtime on any given day. And that extends to individuals too, right? You can kind of think through. It's the same as having batteries charged and flashlights ready in the event that you don't have power.
Okay, so other possible apps or services that we can turn to if our main one goes out?
Yeah, I think that that's always the best plan, is to think ahead and look through the ways in which you can prepare. Again, I think we just live in an age where there are, unfortunately, a lot of dependencies on outside services. And, of course, this was a very widespread outage we had today, and I'm sure there were a lot of plans in place to ensure that it doesn't happen. But these things are kind of expected nowadays. It's just we live in an online world and we depend on a lot of these services, as I said.
All right, that sounds really scary that this is just going to happen at this point. Thank you so much, Liz. Elizabeth Kwok is a cybersecurity expert who's worked with the FTC and Commerce Department. Thank you.
Thanks.